Ooh. Good morning, everyone. This is Parallax test 2 over breakfast. I'm cooking my mate's breakfast, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk to Parallax. So as we know, the moon moves along with the Earth, but slowly tends to move a little bit backwards in its orbit over the Earth. And as it does that, well, if it's moving along with the Earth, we're both moving along, that 66,000 miles an hour or whatever. So yeah, we should see that. We should see the stars moving in the background of the moon. Like, okay, they say we don't see parallax over these large distances. Yeah, fair enough, whatever. But we should at least see it with the moon, shouldn't we? We shouldn't have to wait till the next night to see it, should we? I don't think so. We should be able to see it happening right before our very eyes. Now, I know you can watch it during the night, it'll move a little bit, but I don't mean that. I mean, if we're travelling around the sun 66,000 miles an hour, then yeah, mate, we should see something. I'm sorry, but we should. At least with the moon. I don't know what to say about how you would go about debunking this. So anyone out there that might have some ideas on how this can't work, please, by all means, drop me a line or hit the comment section and make your opinion known. And yeah, we'll talk it out if you want. But I think this speaks for itself. Just move you over a little bit. Yeah, so how are they going to get away with saying that this wouldn't produce parallax? How could they say that? Because if the stars are just spinning and they're actually staying put, we're moving, we're doing all the moving, the stars apparently aren't spinning, it's us spinning, and the moon's orbiting us. It's not orbiting the sun, so we should see some movement in it. There's no two ways about it, because it's travelling along with us, isn't it? See, this is why the flat earthers feel so passionate, because it's just right in your face. Like I say, it's so obvious. There's a lot out there that answers it. A lot of cognitive dissonance, but there's also a lot of people coming around. And all we can do is, get that word out. Now, apparently on Friday, if you check out Educate Yourself, she's put a video up. It's talking about you can go over to this NASA hangout that's happening and you can comment. They're welcoming it. So go there and hit them up with questions like this. And try and get all your flat earth mates, flat earth friends to join you in that. And yeah, we can all bust it, truth bomb it. Yeah. So if you're enjoying my series of truths and interesting information, please comment and let me know. I've only had a couple of shills, or not shills, trolls, or whatever they are. I don't know what to really call them. I don't think those definitions really fit those sorts of people. I'd call them misdirectioners. I'd call them misinformed. I'd call them ill-informed. Or I'd call them controlled opposition. See, they're our controlled opposition, and so is, what's it called, not so is, sorry, and the Flat Earth Society is, the globe is, they're I just forgot the word I just said. Oh no, it's too early. Oh, what is the word I'm looking for? The two words I'm looking for. Controlled opposition. That's the one. Oh wow. Yeah. That's the globe opposition. And ours is these guys. And basically anyone who hasn't woken up. They're our opposition too. In big ways, actually. And they don't even know that what they're doing, they're doing under control, under puppetry, and they're parroting, and they don't know that. So you can't be too harsh on them. And at the same time, it's like I see a lot of flat earthers in their comments saying things like calling people shills and trolls and all this sort of stuff. But at the same time I see, well, people who flat earthers call trolls and shills. I see those people calling flat earthers trolls and shills. So the thing is, what I'm saying is we don't really know if the ones that have been called trolls and shills from the flat earthers are indeed trolls and shills. They could be just like us when we're called trolls and shills by the globe people. Don't you think? It's just the same thing. Like, I've been called it a few times. But I know myself, I'm the only one who can really know, you know? Unless I am controlled opposition, because then if you are controlled opposition, I've obviously, the other people know, the ones that are, you know, paying your wages. But yeah, I tend to think that they don't really need them as bad as we think, or they're not as many as we think there are, and it's basically the same way that we call them trolls and shills. It's the same thing. Because when they call us trolls and shills, it's the same thing. It's relative, again, relative to the person. Einstein was right. Everything's relative. Stupid. Yeah, so, la-di-da. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about a Bible truth. It's one I've heard people talk about. I've heard people mention in talks and videos. And it's about the Antichrist. And who is the Antichrist? That's the question. The definition of Antichrist is: the Antichrist means against or instead of Christ. The term applies to all who deny what the Bible says about Jesus Christ. All who oppose his kingdom and all who mistreat his followers. It also includes individuals, organisations, and nations that falsely claim to represent Christ, or that improperly ascribe to themselves the role of Messiah. Oh, I hear a question there already. How can a organisation call themselves the Messiah? Well, it would be like the Roman Catholic Church. They call themselves like God on earth or whatever, the authority of God on earth or whatever. So yeah. That's how it can be a society or whatever, a organisation or a nation. And the way it can be a nation is because the Vatican City is its own nation. And sorry, I'll just finish mixing up these eggs. Okay. What about the Bible? Does the Bible reference who the Antichrist is, or if there's only one? Well, 1 John 2:18 says, "Young children, it is the last hour, and just as you have heard, the Antichrist is coming. Even now, there have come to be many Antichrists, from which fact we gain the knowledge that it is the last hour." 2 John 7 says, "Many deceivers have gone forth into the world, persons not confessing Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the Antichrist." Did you notice that many Antichrists of 1 John are here referred to as collectively the Antichrist? So therefore that means that would be telling you, that there's more than one. It's not just one person is an Antichrist and that we're going to be waiting for him. Now, you might have Antichrist, you might have it mixed up with the man of perdition, the one who'll be standing in the holy place. in the end of days. That's probably who you're thinking of, or who they are thinking of when they refer to a Antichrist. Is the coming of the Antichrist reserved for some future time? Or has it already been? Or is it now? 1 John 4:3, every inspired expression that does not confess Jesus does not originate with God. Furthermore, this is the Antichrist's inspired expression, which you have heard was coming, and now it is already in the world. Whoa! That was now it is already in the world. That was written near the end of the 1st century CE. Okay. Every inspired expression that does not confess Jesus does not originate with God. Furthermore, this is the Antichrist's inspired expression, which you have heard was coming, and now it is already in the world. And that was written near the end of the 1st century CE. And 1 John 2:18. Even now there have come to be many antichrists, from which fact we gain the knowledge that it is the last hour. By last hour, John evidently meant the end of the apostolistic period, not the day of judgment or the tribulation. The other apostles had died, and John himself was very old. So, yeah. It's just to bring it into context. He was the only one left. Sorry. Some of those identified as Antichrist persons who deny that Jesus is truly the Messiah, because in 1 John 2:22 it says, "Who is the liar, if it is not the one that denies that Jesus is the Christ or Messiah or Anointed One? This is the Antichrist." Okay. All who deny that Jesus is the unique Son of God. 1 John 2:2, like we just read, the rest of it says, "This is the Antichrist, the one that denies the Father and the Son." And you can compare that to John 10:36 and Luke 9:35, which is where Jesus turns around and he says, you yourself say that no. So that why? You say, "I am not the Son of God." And he talks about they're talking about his works being not from God. And he says, well, if they're not from God, where do you say they are from? Apostolates, they're Antichrist as well. In 1 John 2:18 and 19, it says, "There have come to be many Antichrists. They went out from us, but they were not of our sort." And what about those who oppose Christ's true followers? In John 15, 20, 21, says, if they have persecuted me, they will persecute you also. But they will do all these things against you on account of my name. And what about individuals and nations that oppose Christ as the King, and that they themselves falsely claim the messianic role, or how do you say it? Yeah, messianic. Because in Psalms 2:2 it says, the kings of the earth take their stand, and high officials themselves have massed together as one against Jehovah and against his anointed one, Christ or Messiah. And you can read all about that, about Jesus coming and the birds being called from the angel in the sun, standing in the sun, and he calls all the birds of the earth together to hit. He calls them here, and says to them, you will dine on flesh of kings and flesh of great men, and because of the war of Megiddo, Armageddon on at Megiddo. In Matthew 24:24, false Christs and false prophets will arise and will give great signs and wonders, so as to mislead, if possible, even the chosen ones. Do you wonder who they are? Because you remember how I showed you in Giordano Bruno's books, how I showed that they use images and that, and also they've turned sorcery and magic and alchemy and all these things, they've turned them into science and philosophy and maths, and they turned into English, and that's why it's called spelling, because they cast spells with it. The TV broadcasts images, they cast them out, and Hollywood and all that stuff. Something I did forget to mention in the video, it was the one about Neil deGrasse Tyson throwing up all over the stage. I forgot to mention in that video about where he was saying about the Muslims, or, yeah. He was talking about how they hadn't advanced and stuff in so long. But at the beginning, if you remember, he was saying about how they named the constellations and the planets and all that sort of stuff. Well, something I forgot to mention in there is they named the planets and the constellations after, you know how they named them after like mythological gods and stuff, you know, Greek gods and all that. Well, it's not from stories. It's not something that's made up. It's not children's stories. It's not a Chinese whisper that's been handed down and down. They're talking about, you know who they're talking about. They're talking about the fallen angels and the Nephilim, if you think about it. Because they tell us it's called mythology, okay, with their sea god and they're lightning bolt God, and and they're full God, and God of patrons and all that stuff. Well, it's not that it's not made up, and it's not just a bunch of pagans assigning a god that they've made up, like a Norse god or something like that. Even the Norse, these are based on truth. And it's about the giants and the fallen angels. These are their gods. These are the ones they worship. They probably had no choice, for one. And two, they would have shown great signs and wonders compared to the ability of man. For they brought war and technologies, information that isn't supposed to be ours. And we're not supposed to be speaking their names. The Bible tells us not to even mention their names, because they enjoy it, and they'll hear you, and they'll come, to be in your presence, be around you, just from the fact of you saying their name. Now, they've also put their names in obscure places in our language, and you can see this. You look at people that, have you seen the Britney Spears interview where she's talking and all of a sudden she sort of looks up and says hello to something, and then she says, "Oh, stinky breath" or something, and starts crying and stops the interview? Have you seen that? Well, what you have to do is you have to pay attention. What happens is, if you notice, the entity, which is what we will call it because that's what most people know it as, but all they are the fallen angels, basically, without bodies, in their spirit form, because they took on bodies, and the flood came, killed their bodies, and they can only die that one time in human form, I'd say. I actually don't know that for a fact. I don't know that for a fact. But I would say that's the case, because I know that man can only die twice. If you die before Armageddon, then you'll be resurrected, because the Bible says that there'll be a resurrection of good and evil men, not just good men. Also, it says if you live to Armageddon and you haven't taken Jehovah, you haven't accepted it and lived that way, then, and you make it to Armageddon, then you don't get a second chance. You don't get a resurrection. You go straight to I don't know if you go straight to the pit, but I'd say you die, or maybe you do get a resurrection, but it's just like you wake up and then it's see you later, and you're put into the pit. And the pit isn't a place of hell and torture and all that. Hell is not in the Bible. The word is not in the Bible. No reference to it. No description of that at all in the Bible. The place that Jesus went was the place where the spirits are dwelling, because they don't have bodies. So they're dwelling in that place, and they don't have any rest there. They have no job anymore. They don't do any work. They just roam and walk around. They have to have realised their worthlessness now, and the abilities and the life they had under Jehovah. They would have realised that, well, now we don't have anything. He would have kept them busy and satisfied. And they've turned away from him. And then I would say, because they're waiting around, and I would say that because apparently they're capricious, and their attributes are actually written down in the Bible, and by that I would say that they would get restless and basically, they're looking for Satan to give them something to do, because they were made with a purpose. They were made to do jobs and to look after Jehovah's creations, govern them or whatever. Like Satan, he's the ruler of this world. If you don't know that, Jesus said that to him. And that's the only reason he could offer Jesus all those things. Every city in the world and all that. Because he has the ability to. And so, going back to Brittany, so if you notice what the actual word she says right before she stops, looks up, and then she goes, oh, and then she says the word again, and then she says hello. Okay? Now, if you look at that, you will see that the word she says it twice, and it's the last word she says before she flips out or sees whatever she sees. And it's that word, and then she says it again. Okay? And then she says hello. The reason she does that is because that word is the name of her guardian demon. Yeah? The one that was assigned to her to give her the abilities that she used to influence us. Yeah? So I know you guys are understanding. Right? And then look at Beyonce. Right? Look at her. She says that she has this thing coming to her. Okay? She doesn't even know what it is. Right? Okay? Think about it. What is the name of that thing? Sasha what? Okay? So, if you start to notice, there's a pattern. Okay? It's the words. They've put these words, like I said before, into our language. Right? And without even knowing, we end up using words to describe things that are actually the names of fallen angels. And in doing this is how they get us to sin without knowing we're doing it. Just like the globe. It's sun worship without even knowing. So, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. But, yeah, that's the thing. It's very dangerous. But a lot of people, unfortunately, have been manipulated because there are people out there like Mr. Crowley and Mr. Parsons who have who've gained this knowledge. And the Bible tells you as well. It tells you that. Because if you look at Jesus, would you say that you would be more of a catch than he to Satan? No way, would you? If he could catch Jesus, okay, so he'd be the best prize, okay, he'd be the best catch that Satan could ever achieve, right? If he could get him. Right? And he offered him those things, okay? So what makes you think that he won't give it to humans if they do the same thing? If they do what he wants? And so they've read this in the scriptures, Satan offering Jesus, tempting him. Took him into the wilderness, tempted him. He said to him, because Jesus hadn't eaten in so long, he'd just been fasting. And he said to him, tell these stones to turn into loaves of bread. I will just go straight to the Bible. Matthew or Luke 4, I suppose. Here we go. Yep, after the Sabbath. Yeah, Luke 4. Yeah, sorry about that. Then Jesus, full of Holy Spirit, turned away from the Jordan, and he was led about by the Spirit into the wilderness for 40 days, being tempted by the devil. And he ate nothing in those days. So when they had ended, he felt hungry. At this, the devil said to him, if you are the Son of God, tell this stone to become a loaf of bread. But Jesus answered him, it is written, man must not live by bread alone. So he brought him up and showed him brought him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the inhabited earth in an instant of time. Then the devil said to him, I will give you all this authority and the glory, because it has been handed over to me, and I will give it to whomever I wish. Okay? If you therefore do an act of worship before me, it will all be yours. In reply, Jesus said to him, it is written, it is Jehovah your God you must worship, and it is to him alone you must render sacred service. He then led him into Jerusalem and stationed him on the battlement of the temple, and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here. For it is written, he will give his angels a command concerning you, to preserve you, and they will carry you on their hands, so that you may not strike your foot against a stone." In answering, Jesus said to him, it is said, "You must not put Jehovah your God to the test." So the devil, having finished all the temptation, departed from him until another convenient time. You remember when, and they're talking about the convenient time was when he was telling the apostles about what he was going to have to suffer, and they were saying, "Oh, but you don't have to suffer it," and all this sort of stuff, like. And he said to them, he turned his back and said, "Get behind me, Satan." Yeah? Okay. So, these people, that's why it says they sold their soul to the devil. Okay? But you've also got to look at the big picture. Think about it. If Satan can offer you all the power and glory and kingdoms and wealth in the whole entire inhabited earth, if he can give you all that, imagine what Jehovah can give you. Imagine what he's gonna give you. Okay? Now, what has Satan done for you? Satan has done nothing for you except deceive you and use those he can manipulate against you. He's done nothing for you. What's God done for you? And go out and look outside. Go and have a look around. Take a breath. These are the things. And he's not finished giving. Nowhere near. He already gave us those things. He gave us those things without us having to do a thing for it. But to keep them, we have to give our lives up for him. We have to give ourselves over for him, to him. We have to worship him. Now, Satan said, if you do an act of worship to me, then I will give you these and that. So, he's asking you to do an act of giving to him before he'll give anything to you. And the only reason he's offering it is to take away everything from you and everything from anyone he can get you, anyone you can influence. Not he can get you, but just anyone you can influence. Anyone that you can influence, it's all done in his behalf. And anyone he can influence, it's to take something off them. And they don't have to worship him. He doesn't offer them anything, but he uses you to take everything off them. And how's this? When he's done with you, and he's got everything, resource he can out of you. Everything that belongs to Jehovah that he can get his hands on. Once he's finished getting you to do that for him, guess what he's going to do? He's going to do the same thing to you. So, anyone who thinks, oh, it's all going to be cool, we'll just, like there's two worlds. There's God's world, and if you're good, you go to God's world. And up there, well, you don't get to have any fun, and because all these bad things are fun. Horrible, sexually immoral, violent entertainment and acts or activities. These are good. They're good things. They're things that'll be in hell. You're crazy if you think that. Anyone who thinks that's nuts. There's no way. There is no way. Okay. For starters, there's no hell. Okay. It's not in the Bible. There is Hades, which is burial, just the normal burial. There is Sheol, which is burial at sea. And there is Gehenna, which is the lake of fire and sulfur, which has smoke ascending from it, which ascends forever and ever. This is in the wording where you find the meaning. Okay? Because in the wording is what will show you what it's about. It's not saying that it's a place of torment. It's not saying that it's... Because it says that there will be the gnashing of their teeth and their torment and their torture. It says that. But it's not saying that they'll be tortured. It's not saying that they will feel pain. It's not saying anything like that. Okay? Jesus' rulership isn't gonna be made up of guarding, what's it called? Being the warden of a big horrible jail that tortures people worse than anyone experienced here, than anyone did to each other here. That's just silly thinking that. Of course God wouldn't do that. It's a misconception, it's a lie, it's false teaching. It says in the Bible that when man dies, he's aware of nothing. He is inactive, he cannot act, can't speak, can't do anything, asleep in death. And until the resurrection, that's the way you're going to stay. Your body doesn't have to be preserved, but that's obviously what they were doing back in the day, thinking that, they preserve their body, and then in the resurrection, they'll be back in that body and it'll be still good, or something like that. It's some sort of mindset. I don't really know. I'm just hypothesizing. But yeah. When people are thrown into the lake of fire, it's called the second death. And the reason it's described the way it is because when people realise that's where they're going, that's where their torment will be. That's where will be gnashing their teeth going, oh, how stupid was I? Oh no, what have I done? What did I do to myself? And then they'll realise what they're going to miss out on. But The reason it says the smoke of which ascends forever and ever, and it's a lake of fire and brimstone. The reason it's like that, well, think about Sodom and Gomorrah. Fire and brimstone came down from the sky and totally annihilated them, yeah? Turned them to nothing. Literally, ash. And nothing standing, nothing left, nothing recognisable as Gomorrah or Sodom anymore. Okay, and they found these places, you can look it up, and in these places, the only place on earth you can find actual, like 99% basalt, and you can't find it in nature. It cannot be made by nature. Nature cannot make it itself. The environment does not make it itself. It has to be manufactured. But you can find that in two places where Sodom and Gomorrah is supposed to be, and you can find the sulfur embedded in rock where it's like hit the rock and started sort of spinning or just burning out a little hole impression, a perfect hole. And you can see where it's rusted from the sulfur interacting with the stone and the bauxite or iron oxide that's in the stone. And so when the lake of fire is described as being a lake of fire and brimstone, of sulfur, that's what they're talking about. And if it totally annihilated Sodom and Gomorrah, then that's your reference point. In other words, if you're put in the lake of fire, then what they're saying is you're thrown into a place where it's like a disintegrator. Yeah? Everything you throw in there becomes annihilated and doesn't exist anymore. Yeah? Every part of it is taken out of existence. It's like a black hole that doesn't have a center, but a real one, not an imaginary space fake one. One that would literally, anything that touched it, sucked up and annihilated to the point where every particle that made it does not exist anymore. And that's why it says the smoke of which will rise forever and ever, because it's endless. There's no escape from it, in the fact that once it's done to you, there's no coming back. You are annihilated. Game over. No more. Bye-bye. Okay? So my mate's probably finished his breakfast now. And I think I've talked enough. So I hope you're all enjoying my videos again. And I really hope you enjoy the Bible studies, the breakdowns of the Bible. Okay, I'll still be doing the prophecies to come. I'll still be doing them soon. I think I might want to sort of write it down, how I want to do it, what I want to say in order, and just so it's got a bit more structure. It doesn't go forever like this one. Yeah, because it's doing it off the cuff like this is just goes a little bit too long, and get a bit out of hand. Okay. Love yous and leave yous, and thank yous all very much again for your attention. And may Jehovah bless you all and keep you. And yeah, I hope yous all find him, because his new world's going to be great. And it's going to be here. The earth was made to be inhabited. Only 144,000 are going to heaven. And they will be going through the tribulation. We know that. All this, before the trib and all this sort of stuff, I don't know why they think that, but it's wrong. And it's obviously wrong, because the Bible says that if Jehovah doesn't step in, okay, in that day, if Jehovah doesn't step in, then not even the elect could be saved, not even the anointed. So that's the 144,000 that are supposed to be going to heaven. The ones that are alive, not even they will be able to survive. They won't be able to survive the wrath of God. So what it's saying is, if he doesn't step in and stop what'll be going on, which will be like this world going off, because remember it says that there will be earthquakes and things, and the earth will tremble, and all these strange things will happen, and fire will come from the sky, and all this. And it says that things will happen that haven't happened since, that have happened like nothing, not even right back to the beginning, to the creation of the earth. Not seen since then, or whatever. So that's pretty full on. But what it says is, if he doesn't stop, then not even the most precious to God would have survived it, or will survive it. So that tells you, yes, they will be going through it. There's no pre-trib rapture. It tells you that. For if they have to go, if Jehovah has to stop it on their account for them, then that tells you that they're obviously going to be going through it right to the end. Yeah? Okay. Enough babble. Not babble, but yeah, enough. Okay. Yeah. God bless you all. And yeah, thank you, Jehovah, for helping me and giving me the opportunity to get my word out, your word out, I should say, by your will.